right. So for those of you who were here yesterday, I touched briefly on the ramp method. For those of you who weren't, I'm just going to give a really brief overview of what this looks like, what the ramp method is, and then we're actually going to get really nitty gritty, give you some really tangible tools to walk away and help you to really create sustainable boundaries and really protect your time and your energy. So first of all, for those of you who weren't here yesterday, you didn't catch it, the ramp method is something that I created after experiencing burnout 3 times. And it actually really comes from my background of, I have a master's degree in sports psychology, and I was an athletic trainer for 14 years. I worked with high performing athletes, and I saw that the athletes who were really successful, that won the Olympic gold medals, won the championships, it's because they had the right training plan. So they had to have the right coach, the right skill set, the right mindset, and the right rest to performance ratio. And we're not really taught how to rest or what that rest to performance ratio is. And in sports, they have what's called a 3-to-1 rest to performance ratio. And so we try to take this model into their day, their week, their month, their year. If you look at basketball, let's say right now, their off season is in the summertime. They come back in the fall, and then they start practicing, and then they move into different seasons. And each of those seasons is really specific. And actually, Stephen talked about earlier today, exercise science and working with athletes. There's a really specific intensity, volume, all of that is really specific based on the season that they're in sports. And so I thought, if this has worked to produce Olympic gold medalists for the last 60 years, why can't we take this same model and apply it to our businesses and really give people a framework for how they can truly rest mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually? And so the RAMP method is an acronym. It's a model that I created after what's used in the sports world, and it stands for Rest, Align, Master, Peak. And it's really creating seasons within your business and really specific intentionality and strategic intentionality to not only grow your business, but also sustainably do it in a sustainable way. And so what, our typical society teaches us to push, push, push. Yeah, maybe you take vacation, maybe you take a night off, but do you really truly unplug and know how to rest? And so that's really kind of the heart of what we're going to be talking about here. The RAMP method is really designed to help you take advantage of your specific physiology, whether you're a male or a female. You can see here it says female, male or female physiology. We're going to talk about what this looks like in just a second. And also your business trends. Every business has typical ebbs and flows. Some are more extreme than others. Realtors, insurance agency owners have more extreme ebbs and flows of income and revenue generation, but every business has this. And if it doesn't, or if it doesn't feel like it, you get to choose what that looks like. So that's really what the RAMP method is it's a strategic business and life plan, because what's happening in business affects our life, and what's happening in life affects our business. And if we can learn how to merge the two together, it's a win-win. So let's talk about time management for a second, because here's the thing that I find is high performers don't really have a problem with managing their time. They're actually, I think, too good at managing their time. They're not good at managing their energy. And so the time management that we're going to be talking about is more than time blocking. Time blocking is awesome. It's great. But there are other things to take into consideration. And one of those is your physiology. And so I talked about this briefly yesterday, but males are on a 24-hour cycle. They're more productive in a 24-hour period, whereas women are more productive in a 28-day period because of our hormones and our cycle. And so if you can start to learn and pay attention to your day and to your week and to your month, you are going to be a lot more productive, and it's going to be a lot less frustrating. The other thing that we're going to look at is energy draining versus energy giving activities, and really how to understand your stressors and your triggers. because work-life balance, we think that has to be this 50-50, but instead of thinking about how much time you're spending on work and in life, look at your stressors, because the stressors and the triggers are what are going to put you into burnout, right? Like, think about the things that stress you out in business. Think about the things that stress you out in life, right? Maybe it's aging parents, or, you have kids at home, you're managing a house. Uh, all of those things come into play when we're talking about burnout, and when we're talking about really reclaiming our time and our energy. Time management is also about having boundaries that protect your priorities, your values, and your goals, and really understanding how to work with the natural ebbs and flows of your slow and busy seasons of your business. So I'm going to go over this really briefly here. I just want to give you kind of a grasp. This particular slide is really more focused on women because men don't deal with this. But men are going to have this same cycle throughout their day, meaning they're going to have, for men, unless they're truly like night owls, they're more likely to be productive in the morning hours. Guys who are in here, drop in the chat if that's true for you. Are you more productive in the morning, and then as the afternoon comes, your energy starts to slow down? If that's true for you, drop it in the chat, because I'm actually genuinely really curious. Whereas women, yes, you might have more, times that you're more productive in a day, but I want you to think about it in a month. And so if you look at your cycle, if you look at the seasons of the earth, right, there's a time for planting, a time for harvest. Each season has its time. There's a time for rest. And so if you start to learn how your body functions on a weekly and monthly basis, you're going to be a lot more productive, and you're going to be able to protect your energy a lot better. So let's talk like energy draining versus energy giving activities. I want you to drop in the chat right now. And we're just going to do a really quick exercise here. One, because it highlights stressors and triggers. And two, it brings awareness to like, ooh, what am I doing? And why am I doing that? Like, should I really be doing that? So just close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and exhale out. I know I want you to identify, where is stress in your body? Is it in your neck, your shoulders? Is it in your chest, in your stomach? Drop it in the chat. Where do you feel stress in your body? And then I want you to name, what is that stress? Give it a name. What is it relate? Is it finances? Is it, frustration with team members? Katie says feels it in her stomach. Dawn says neck and shoulder blades. Yeah. So, identify what is that stress, and then also give it a name. Is it anxiety? Is it fear? What is it that's there? Because if you can start to become aware of your body and understand how it functions, what the stressors are, I can tell you, I was never aware of my stress. I just would if there was something negative happening in my life, I'm like, everything's good, I'm just going to push through, and I would ignore it. And it would start to present in my body in negative ways, migraines, right? All kinds of different things. So identify what the stress is, where it's coming from, because when we're talking about energy draining versus energy giving activities, we talked earlier about really learning how to work in your zone of genius. This becomes really important to managing your time and really creating boundaries, because if you identify, okay, if maybe somebody asked me to volunteer for an event, it could be a really good event, it could be a really good thing, but how does that look in this season of life? And should I say yes or should I say no? Even looking at what to outsource, automate, delegate in your business, if you can assess what gives you energy and what drains your energy, it's going to be easier for you to release your money, release the perfectionism, and allow other people to come in and to help you. Rob says, Yes, to my most productive time being in the morning. I get more done before 8 a.m. If I haven't stayed up too late. I get a short burst in the evening around 8. Yeah, and Dawn talked about this earlier too, like really pay attention to where your energy spikes in the morning and especially even like creativity. When are you more creative? When are you more like get the to-do list? When are you more organized? For women, that is going to play out more over the span of a month, whereas men, that's going to play out more in the span of a 24-hour period. So write down, I want you to think about just one thing in business and one thing in life. I want you to drop it in the chat. What is one thing in business, one thing in life that is just so draining to you? I can tell you for me, it's meal planning and cooking. Like, oh my goodness. My goal in life, no joke, is to hire a personal chef. Like that is my goal in life. Um, because it is very draining and exhausting to me. And so if I can find ways to outsource that, guess what? That gives me more energy to put into my business. It gives me more energy to put into my family. So when you're thinking about, uh, when we think about like how do we get into our zone of genius and make sure that we're working there 90% of the time, it's looking at where you're spending your time and your energy. Katie says, Dawn says cleaning the house. Ugh. I will take cleaning the house over cooking and meal planning. Katie says business, scheduling, personal boundaries when asking for what I need. Dawn says yard work 1,000%. I have a million trees on my little quarter acre. Yeah. And so it's just really understanding like not only in business, what can you outsource, automate, delegate, but also in your life, because that's going to make you more productive in your business, right? So Rob says cleaning the house, laundry, recently outsourced this one, and shopping. Yes, awesome. Good for you, Rob. Especially when we're talking about creating seasons of your business, um, what you outsource in your slow season could be totally different than what you outsource in your busy season, right? I am more likely to pay somebody else to do my meals for me in my busy season than I am in my slow season because I have more time and energy. And so that's what I mean by creating seasons in your business. And we're actually going to be doing a workshop January 16th, where we're going to be walking people through how to create a ramp roadmap, how to really apply these principles. And then also, before that, we are doing burnout strategy assessments where we're going to have you we're going to spend 30 minutes together and we're really going to get down to the root of what is causing your burnout. That's a complimentary call. Tara, if you could drop the link for that in the chat, that would be fantastic. And then on that call, we'll really assess like, is the workshop the best option for you? Is coaching a better option? Is our group 6-week accelerator a better option for you? So that's really a time, or are there just little tips and things you can do on your own and you don't really need our help? Maybe it's you need systems and you need Rob in your life, right? So there are, we'll look and see like, what is it that's really the root of your burnout? We talked about stress, rest, mind-body connection already. I kind of skipped to that one. And then the other thing is really looking at your calendar. And Dawn talked about this too, is everything on your calendar in alignment with your values and your priorities? I had mentioned Lisa LeBlanc was actually on yesterday. She's one of our clients. And when we were first talking about working together, I literally couldn't even get her on a discovery call. I finally just I text messaged her and said, like, Lisa, are you in? Are you out? Like, what's going on? And she was like, my calendar is managing me and I don't know what to do about it. Right. And so really assessing what's on your calendar in your life and in your business. And is it what should be there for the given season? So if we create a ramp roadmap for your year, that's what we do. We are looking at each of the seasons, what goes on the calendar in that season and what doesn't in both your business and your life. And then next is I talk about priorities a lot. As business owners, we have a to-do list that is never ending. Drop in the chat if you feel like your to-do list is never ending and you feel like a failure at the end of the day. That was me, especially when I was a stay-at-home mom. I I was a stay-at-home mom and I was a business owner, a new business owner, and good gracious, I felt like a failure every day. I felt like I was never getting what I needed to get done. And so I had to shift and I had to really learn, like, what's actually a priority to me? What do I, not what other people say I should be doing, not that the dishes aren't done, right? And the guilt that I have to get those done before hubby comes home, those kind of things. What's a priority to you? What do you really truly value? And uh, when we talk about priorities, and Lisa is a good example. She was saying yes to people pleasing. She was trying to accommodate everybody else and what everybody else was asking of her, and she had nothing left for herself at the end of the day. And we didn't talk about this yesterday, and I know I can share this because she's shared it publicly before, but she actually ended up with a tumor, a brain tumor, because she was pushing too much. She was saying yes to too many things and trying to do too much at once. And then when we talk about priorities, like if you say something's a priority, let's say it's working out, right? We had Steven on earlier. If you say working out is a priority, if you say marketing your business is a priority, then why aren't you doing it? What's keeping you stuck? What's stopping you? And usually it's saying yes to things you really don't want to be saying yes to. It could be putting out fires, being reactive instead of proactive, and then really not having boundaries to protect your time, your money, and your energy. So when we talk about priorities over to-do lists, this is how I do this. This is how I teach this. And this is something I had to start doing because I felt like I wasn't really getting anywhere and it was really frustrating. So I started brain dumping everything that I felt like had to get done, whether it was for the day, it was for a week or a month, right? And women, I don't know if men experience this as well, but I know women, especially who have families at home, it's like, oh my goodness, the to-do list never ends, right? And everything feels urgent. And so brain dump everything and then really assess like what actually needs to get done today. Like, does calling the doctor or paying this bill, does it really need to get done today or can it get paid on Friday, right? And so really picking 3 to 5 priorities. And what I really want to emphasize is really paying attention to the things you feel like you should do, right? So those are the things that you feel guilty for not doing, not necessarily because they're productive, but because you feel guilty because somebody else said that your house should look perfect or, whatever it is. And then number them in order by importance. And then the things that you want to do. This is the self-care thing. These are the energizing, soul-giving things that often don't make it on, they are on our to-do list, but they don't actually get done because of everything else. Like everything else feels more urgent. And so we get to the end of the day and we have nothing left for ourselves. And then the things that you need to do. So those are like your absolute, like they have to get done today. And then pare it down and choose the things that you can choose one from each area. If you feel like you have to do the should do's, right, you can put that, but at least one want to do has to be on your priority list every single day if you want to prevent burnout or you want to overcome burnout. And that's how you start making the shift, whether that is want to do the things you want to do in your business or they're the things you want to do to take care of yourself, right? There's both. And so when we start to focus on priorities instead of to-do lists, we can become way more productive and have that success without sacrificing our well-being. So let's talk sustainable boundaries. I'm just going to check my time here really quick. I want to make sure that we're not going over. Okay, perfect. So sustainable boundaries. What does it mean to create sustainable boundaries? And how do we create sustainable boundaries? And first of all, you have to know your priorities in each season. So again, coming back to that ramp method, creating seasons within your year and knowing what your priorities are for each season. And yesterday I went into detail on the ramp method. So if you missed that and you want to understand what I'm talking about, make sure you go back and watch that. but your priority in your slow season is going to be totally different than your priority in your busy season, right? Your priority in your busy season is your business. It's revenue growth. It is taking care of your clients and your customers, versus your priority in your rest season needs to be to rest. So really understanding, what are your priorities? Understand what you value, really value. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then balance out stress with rest and energy giving activities. So when we talk about that work-life balance, if you think about a scale and you have your stressors here, what are the things that are going to offset that stress? And I talked about this yesterday, a sunburn, right? You can be out in the sun, but when you have too much sun, that starts to create a sunburn and then can cause cancer. And so we get out of balance when we have too many stressors and we have not offset those stressors. So what are the things that can offset that stress? That's why it's so important to become aware of your stress and aware of your what rest and recovery looks like for you, and energy giving activities. And then learn to listen to the cues of your body. Say no or outsource anything that is not in alignment with your values or your priorities for that particular season. So I want to just talk about values for a second. And I talked about this yesterday, but this is so important and I want to bring it back around. And I want you to create your own circle. So I want you to just write a big circle. And I want you to write down all of the things that are important to you, all of the things that you are not willing to sacrifice. Because here's the thing, we value our mental health. We don't want to sacrifice our mental health. We don't want to sacrifice our physical health or our self-care or our relationships. It happens when we're not being intentional and we're just chasing this goal, or we're trying to put out fires in the business and wear all the hats, right? It's not intentional to sacrifice those things. It happens when we're not paying attention. And so I want you to make a big circle and put in the things that you're not willing to sacrifice. Even if you have sacrificed them, maybe you're like, yeah, I didn't even think about I've been sacrificing my physical health. But you don't want to anymore. Put it in the circle. And then anything else that you don't really care about, it's not really important to you. Maybe you find yourself doing it, scrolling social media, but it's not really important to you. You don't really value it. It's not adding anything to your life unless you're intentionally on there for business or building relationships, right? It's one thing to be on there intentionally, it's another thing just to be scrolling to numb out. And so what are the things that can be sacrificed? TV time, right? Maybe it's money. And I gave this example yesterday, but there's a difference between wealth and money. I'm not willing to sacrifice my wealth, but however, I am willing to sacrifice the money and invest in myself and the things that I need to do to keep myself healthy and successful, right? There's a difference there. And so some of this, there's a balance, right? And you have to understand what that balance is for you. Nobody can choose that for you. Only you get to choose that for yourself. So right now, I want you guys to write down, I want you to put in the chat one thing right now that you are not willing to sacrifice. Just one thing, like maybe the thing that's most important to you. Maybe it's something that you have been sacrificing, but you no longer want to sacrifice. Drop it in the chat. And then I want you to put in one thing that you're like, yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice that. I don't care. I don't need to scroll social media anymore. Like I want to get to a better place where I'm no longer doing that. Naomi says relationship with God and my time devoted to that. Oh, yes. So good. Tara says quality time with family, not willing to sacrifice. Yes. Not sacrificing exercise. Dawn. Katie says not sacrifice time with my kids. Yeah. So good. When you make that commitment, right, you are more likely, your brain's going to go, okay, what do I need to do? What are the things that I need to do to make this happen? And so writing it down, having that accountability to somebody else to say, hey, you said you're not willing to sacrifice this. Tara said, willing to sacrifice my mindless scroll. Yeah, I have systems in place that I use to catch myself because I used to numb out, especially with young kids. and I just needed to check out, right? I used to do the mindless scroll, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but now I have a checks and balances, a system that keeps me in check that I'm like, is that really what I want to be doing? No, I don't. What do I want to be doing instead in this moment? Katie says, sacrifice mindless scrolling or responding to emails, texts without time boundaries. Yeah, so good. So good. So, that I'm going to stop my screen share. Oops. I would love to hear just one kind of takeaway. I mean, you guys have been dropping stuff in the chat, but what's one takeaway for you? I know that was like really fast and a fire hose coming at you because I want to make sure that we are staying on time. But what's one takeaway that you're like, oh, wow, I hadn't thought of that, or I didn't realize that I was doing that? Drop that in the chat, and I would love to hear. Or you can come on camera, you can unmute as well. I would love to hear. Okay, who do we have on? We have Dawn still on us, Tara, Kelsey, Rob, Jay Lauren, Jill, Dave, Katie, Naomi. Good. We've had people in and out all day. It's fantastic. Tara says, every time you talk about it, it's an eye-opener, aha moment, priorities over to-do lists. Yes. Katie, I love what you said in the first part, that as entrepreneurs, we're usually really good at time, just my thing is just not always what we're spending our energy on. Yeah, we are. I don't think that I think it's time, but I think it's really we're not clear on the boundaries that we want and the values and the priorities and how to protect that. And so then we fill it with the to-do lists. Katie says, yes, priorities versus to-do list. I feel like I need this reminder 100 times. Dawn says boundaries are so important. Yes. So good. I always love sharing and teaching on that. Like these principles, like they seem so simple, but they literally changed my life. Hello, Naomi. So good to see you. Hello, Kelsey.